Okay, hello everyone. So I'm Coralie Cronin. Um, so I am a French teacher in our school Chiaráin in County Offaly, and I'm co-leading the digital learning with Connor. And so we took part in the Selfie and in the Digital Schools Awards last year. And so we started with a Selfie assessment back in would have been 2021, I think, or 2022. And so that was the result of our Selfie. We kind of saw that what really needed a bit of work was the last three sections. So implementation in the classroom, assessment practices, and student digital competence. So we tried to work to combine all this together to improve on the skills of everybody. So we work with Office 365. So all the students have an account, all the staff have an account as well. And we try to provide training sessions to both staff and students at the start of the year and throughout the year to help everybody use the tools that are available to us to the best possible, to the best as they can. And so the first thing that we've been using is OneNote because a few teachers were already using it. So it was maybe easier to implement it throughout the school, and the students are getting used to it a bit more easily as well. So we use it in class for assignments, for annotations, for feedback. It helps students catch up on work as well. We use it for the staff as well. We are a deaf school, so we use the OneNote to organise the deaf plan. And so in terms of assignments, we attach OneNote pages to the assignments so that then the students upload their work on the OneNote page. And because we all have iPads, all the staff have iPads. So with the pen, it's very easy and quick to correct on the iPad rather than picking up 20 copies. It's very easy and you can give feedback easily as well. In terms of feedback, here we have an example of an Irish teacher, but so for language teachers, I find it's great to be able to record yourself and give oral feedback to the students. It's all embedded in the one place. They don't need to go back and forth into different platforms, so that's very practical. And a few teachers, especially the English teacher there, they use it to annotate their poetry during class, and then it's in the content library, so the students have access to it and they can go back for revisions. If students were out of class on that day, they can go back as well and catch up on the notes. So it did help for students who maybe are missing a lot of classes due to different activities that we have in the school. It does help, especially in senior cycle, to catch up on the work, as they would be a bit more diligent on this than junior cycle, I suppose. But
I can talk about.
I think that's it in terms of OneNote. I'm going to let Connor go on with the teams.
Hi everybody. I'm Conor Meehan and I'm an engineering teacher in Clara along with Relly. And like she was saying, we are leading digital learning in our school. One of the main tools we're using, and we've been using it, was very useful over lockdown. I'm sure you're all aware of Teams. So some of the unique ways we're using it is we're using it for the likes of from an IT sense, we have channels set up. We have an IT team and a channel set up, so we're able to track. Teachers are able to log IT issues on the IT. I meant to put in a screenshot of the way that looks, but it's very useful. Well, it can be a headache as well because I have to answer all the IT issues. But another it's another also useful when we want to share useful resources. So we have a big bank of resources, repository of resources that we've come across and we found useful. So it's easy to share with the staff and the students. One of the things I suppose we learned from the work over the last couple of years, Maxine, I'm not sure if it was your school, but we had a call similar to this with a Scottish school. It may have been your school, I can't remember. And so they gave us some very useful information, things like student digital leaders, where you had badges. We're still working on getting badges, but it's something that we really worked on, and we've a number of TY students that are assisting us and making the workload a little easier for us in our school. I found that one of the most useful pieces of advice we got. Also, it empowers them and gives them it's easy to find the students that are interested in IT and want to learn and grow from that. So that would be a recommendation I'd have for other schools if they were interested in digital school digital or student digital leaders. What else did we have here? Yeah, we just had teams for assignments. We've been using rubrics for the last number of years as well. I've personally I use it for CBAs. It makes correcting CBAs a lot easier, and you can get to a grade and a final assessment very quick. Also, AI is the newest greatest thing. It's also very, very useful for creating rubrics. So I've been using we are a Microsoft school, but I've been using Bard as the Google version. It's also very useful, and Copilot and ChatGPT, of course, as well. I've been using that. It makes the teacher's job a lot easier, in my opinion, and it's something we're working on as well. We haven't got it all figured out yet, but we're building, and hopefully we can get as many of the awards as Maxine's school in time. What else do we have here? Yeah, we just have classwork. Aurelie actually uses that. I haven't used that yet. I'm not sure much about it, being honest. Do you want to come in there, Aurelie?
Yeah, it's a new feature from Teams. I think they only rolled it out there in September, and it allows you to create units of learning if you want in Teams, and under each unit, you have all the resources that go with this unit. You can put them there and you can attach everything in it. It could be OneNote pages, sections, videos, PowerPoints, documents, anything. You attach whatever you want and it's all under the one heading. So for students, it's easy to find and to click it. You can you can attach assignments as well, so they know that that assignment was actually for this unit. I find it very good. It makes the team very well organized, I find. So I've been using it with the first years and second years. I think it's very good.
And then another thing that I contacted Canva a couple of years ago now. I came across somewhere about that they have an education license. So this is something I would really, really, really recommend. I'm sure some of you are already very aware of it, but students and teachers are entitled to a free Canva Pro account. And I can't stress how useful a software it is. One particular instance we're using it for is our TY students are using it for e-portfolios. So you can create a website very, very easily on Canva, extremely straightforward. So the students, like, they're tracking what they're doing month to month, and have different pages and any useful photos and videos. Very, very easily done. Also, we use it for creating posters and graphic design. Students love it, so I've been using it with all my IT classes really, and there's lots of templates available. It just makes graphic design very, very easy, and the fact that there is education accounts available, I'm sure you're probably already aware of it, but it's something that schools can apply for and have it streamlined across the school. Yeah, what else do we have here? Minecraft for education. So we're working with the LOETB or ETB have an excellent STEAM program now. There's a STEAM STEAM coordinator who goes across all the schools and has connected all the schools together. We're all on the one page. Some of the things we're working on at the moment are Minecraft for education. Now, I haven't got deeply involved in it myself, but it's another thing that students and teachers are entitled to free accounts in. I heard we had a meeting yesterday, and one piece of advice I gathered from it was, for a history teacher, there's Minecraft worlds available, like, for example, ancient Ireland, so you can bring the students to ancient Ireland not using Minecraft. I'm not sure how relevant it is for my subjects yet, but I have to look into that. But for geography, history, I think there's a lot of useful resources available using Minecraft for education. Other elements then involved with the STEAM program, STEAM initiatives. There's Lego League, so it's using Lego robotics. It's an excellent program. We're using it with junior cycle students. Also, we're doing VEX robotics, and we've recently installed a podcast studio. Now, again, I haven't been hands-on with that yet, but we have it all available. The ETB are driving it. It's really, really useful hardware, and podcasting, I know it's a really big thing, something I'm interested in myself. Getting time for all these things is another issue. I'm sure you're all aware of that too. We also, as part of the STEAM program, I traveled to Greece last October. I think Aurelie went to Spain, and one of our other teachers went to Romania, and we gathered very useful trips as well, just to see how other schools and how they're doing it internationally. And some of the things I took back from that, I went to Greece, was they were using radio. They had a radio program for education the students created that was very useful. Also, it made me realize how lucky we are in Ireland. We have so much access to resources and equipment. Sometimes I think we take it for granted. I know we all need more and we're looking for more, and unfortunately we were one of the schools that didn't get the recent STEM grant, but you know, we do take it for granted sometimes because we have so much. I think we have something like 100 laptops that we can bring around to students, and we are very lucky. Yeah, sorry, interruption here. Also, we have links with UCD. Again, the ladies were mentioning Declan Coulter earlier on. That's how we know Declan, and he's been very helpful to us all. And open this. That's all I really have to say. Is there any questions or anything? We will be able to answer them. So thanks for your time. Thanks a million.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
That's super. Perfectly timed entrance by another young learner, and it's really fantastic to see, you know, the journey that your school has been on. I know 2 years ago, you know, at that point we were really just looking at the selfie survey, and there was already, you know, a huge learning curve there, just in terms of, you know, how do you actually apply that self-reflection survey in the school, and then how do you take that data and transform it into a development plan. So it's stunning to see, you know, what you're doing, but also I think for me, you know, you're looking at sort of, you know, making sort of fundamental sort of impacts, you know, around sort of the teaching and the learning, making sure that all the teachers are familiar with the technology that's available in the school, that the learners know how to use it, and that it's consistent approach across, you know, the entire school. And then from there, being able to build on that, you know, with the likes of the robotics, the Lego League, and there's so much more then I think that you can do, you know, once you've got all of those basics in place, and you've got all those fundamentals right. So huge congratulations, you know, to the school, and thank you so much for sharing what you're doing. And I'm sure we'll be delighted to hear from you again, you know, in the following year to see where you're going with all the STEAM and STEM. So with that, Maxine, I will hand over to you. We've got lots to hear from you on this subject, so I'd like to make sure we have plenty of time for that. And then if there's any questions, anybody, you could drop it in the chat, or we'll come to it at the end. So over to you, Maxine.
I'll share my screen with you now. Just tell me if it's not working right or you want a different view, and then we'll go from there. Can everybody see that okay?
Yep, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Good. Oh, good. I don't hear the perfect word often enough. That's grand. Thank you so much. And I think what I'm going to do here is probably actually build on a lot of the good practice from the previous presentation. So there might be some similarities in some of the ideas, but what I want to do is show how our school, after sort of 10 years of embedded digital learning, is really beginning to use it as a way to remove barriers for pupils in terms of access to learning. So, maybe a snazzier title: embedding effective digital practice and accessible learning, improving learning outcomes and attainment for young people. Our big drive this year in our school, in our context in Scotland, is to make sure that everyone's attainment is as the best as it can be. That's obviously what we do in teaching all the time, but from the Scottish Government perspective, we have been asked to close the gap between poverty and attainment, and that is something that is a bit of a passion of mine, and what we're and how we're using digital to help that. I mean, a slight word with the Scottish Government in that maybe they want to also tackle the problem of poverty, but we'll have that conversation at another time. Okay, so here's what we do as a school. We have an equity and equality element to our school improvement plan, and it's something that we're very proud of in terms of our achievements. And what we do is we look at where all the barriers are for our pupils, whether that be in the classroom, out the classroom, whatever that looks like, and then we start trying to remove them. And that's where digital really comes in terms of helping pupils achieve it within their learning. So we're using digital to help pupils access learning, utilising strategies that help them learn the best way they can and be successful. And what we did was we looked at what were the sort of the key barriers that we were facing, and sure, this is absolutely universal now. So additional support needs, ASD, so autistic spectrum disorder, non-attendance. We have I was going to say a huge problem, but it is a problem with our attendance in school. I don't know if that's a common problem you face in Ireland and elsewhere as well. But we found that after COVID, so our attendance has depleted. Not we're still very, very positive. We still sort of aim to get over 95% attendance in school, but we do find that fluctuates. And for various different reasons, there's lots of kids that can't attend. Anxiety-based learning is a big challenge that we face. So how do we get the people who don't set foot in the school to achieve? Visual impediments as well, and of course, physical impediments too. So again, we're using mostly Office 365, and our kind of statutory expectations of all of our teachers in school is that they're using Teams and OneNote. That is our minimum standard, and I'm like the minimum competency person. I loved all the lovely accolades that you gave us, but really that is nothing to do with me. That's all the hard work from all the members of staff throughout the school and the effort that they put into keeping themselves upskilled, sharing all those ideas and any new ideas they come across, making sure that they share with each other. So we had, similar to the previous presentation, every lesson in our school, there's a commonality and an expectation that teachers will post the details of their lesson onto Teams and the materials that go with it, so that if for whatever reason somebody's missing out or can't access the work in a particular way, it's all there in front of them. And I will say that we are lucky to be a one-to-one device school. We every staff member and every pupil has iPads. We have found that creating private channels and bespoke work and feedback from pupils has had a great level of success, and then asking the pupils to let us know how they learn, what is it that they or what way do they access their learning the best. And of course, with a sort of generational change, we found that getting down to their level has had a really, really big success. So using things like TikTok for video demos or clips if you've got Apple, because TikTok's not allowed in your school, you know, that kind of thing. Just finding the ways that they can resonate with what they're telling them. And assessments. Now, this is the big one, and I know that depending on where you are, there might be an expectation in the way that assessments are either undertaken and the outcomes that are achieved. But for us in Scotland, we're very lucky with our S1s to S3s that there's no exams. We're kind of getting rid of the sort of the traditional format of written assessments, and we're thinking of more creative ways to do that. And again, that's where digital comes in. Does everyone even have to do it their own way? They've got personalisation and choice, and they can use the digital skills that they've got and the manual skills that they've got as well to give us the outcomes in a way that suits them. And we've seen some absolutely outstanding work across the school. So in classics, I saw them meet their outcomes by making videos, and instead of an essay, they met all of the outcomes, gave all of their learning, demonstrated all of that learning and understanding through little dramatizations of things like, you know, visiting the underworld and things like that. It was absolutely phenomenal. And it's just allows the kids to be have that sort of creative thinking, but also to think that actually not everything needs to be an essay at the end of the day or has to be done in a certain way. OneNote we use extensively as well, and it's great to see that other schools are using that in the same way that we are. We call it snap and share. Pop your work on a page, you get your audio feedback. That has been the absolute game changer for me as a history teacher. The workload that goes into that in terms of you know, written feedback on essays and so on and so forth. Audio feedback was the absolute game changer for me, and that meant that I was absolutely sold on everything digital. So when I could verbalise what I wanted the kids to know and then have them verbalise that back to me or even write it down in their private channels, so we were all on board about the improvements we need to make, we saw a demonstrable difference in their attainment and the improvements from essay to essay or piece of work to piece of work using the audio feedback. And if they didn't do it, I could direct them back to it and say, remember, this is what we said last time, go and listen to that again and make the necessary changes to be successful. Here's one of our, we mentioned non-attendance before, so I just wanted to kind of demonstrate how digital helped one of our young learners be successful. This is somebody who did not set foot in our school and has not set foot in our school for a good number of years now, but her art teacher, through private channels and use of Teams, all the communication, materials, support, feedback was done through Teams, communicating through either audio recordings, video demonstrations, and you can see just at the bottom where it says PB, that was the students' work, and they would submit it to the teacher. They would make a comment and feedback on what they needed to do next, and then that was submitted to our exam board at the end, and they got a grade A or higher, which is kind of like your AS levels, I think. So a great achievement for somebody who has never been able to set foot in the building. And pupil B, this is one of my students who I had for 6 years, who was additional support needs, dyslexic and ASD, autistic spectrum disorder, could not write a word, and I mean could not write a word. And somewhere through round about 3rd and 4th year, I caught him speaking into his iPad one day, and I was like, what are you doing? He said, anything we do in class, I dictate it into my iPad, and then it produces the written work on the screen for me. And it's learned his voice, learned his accent, so that it can very quickly type that up for him. And there's an exemplar from when he was in our S6, and you can see that he was studying Japanese history with me, and it's learned all the Japanese words that he was using day in, day out. And he went on to achieve a B grade and is now studying history at university, having literally not written one word down the whole time he was at high school. I think that's a phenomenal achievement, and I know that from that young person and his parents, they said that without the digital tech to help him access his learning, they know that he would not have had that success in being able to follow his passion. So highly encourage you to explore some of the functionalities with O365, things like the accessible functions, immersive reader, the dictation function, the audio feedback functions, because it'll not just change your lives, but it'll change your young people's too. And a lot of what I'm showing you probably looks like it's embedded and it's easy. It is embedded. It wasn't necessarily easy to get there. We've been on a 10-year-long journey. And for people who are thinking, oh gosh, I'd love to do some of that in my school, how do we do it? I think every school's probably got a commonality in that, depending on where you are in your journey, you'll have some people who are just absolutely amazing at this and superstars, and grab onto them and ask them to lead that for you. You'll have probably a middle group, the keen, but maybe lack a wee bit confidence. They'll follow the leaders. They'll want to upskill themselves and encourage them to participate and then go and share with others. And then eventually the hard to reach, the people who use, their iPads as doorstops and their laptops have never seen the light of day, they'll eventually it'll be the domino effect. They'll want to be part of that culture. And if you keep kind of being so positive about it, and this is the positive effect that will have not only on the outcomes for your kids, but on your workload as well as teachers, then they kind of go, oh yeah, okay then. And then they get on board with it. We've also given teachers the time and the space that they need to continuously upskill. So on our, what we call on service days, our training days, we set time aside for teaching and learning and digital practice so that people have the time to do it, to converse, to share, to go into each other's classrooms and share their good practice. Sharing good practice, I think, is one of the key things as well. And I like the idea about having it on Teams. If that works for you, great. I do a Top Tip Tuesday, so we share that every week. Something that's come up, it might be something really small, a little tweak like the reflect stuff that's in Teams, which is a nice wee quick 1 minute tip. It might be something that's quite big and deserves a little bit more time, and I'll chunk that down. One of the big bits of feedback from my teachers is that they're overwhelmed with stuff anyway. Don't give us too much to read, so we keep it short and sharp, 1 minute tips, and that's had a great success. And then building the confidence with teachers to trust pupils to choose their own functions within their digital tech that helps them the best. I still experience a little bit of resistance from teachers where I want them all to write in their jotters because that's the way that suits me. And I'm trying to give teachers the confidence to say, actually, the kids know what they're doing with this, even if maybe you're not quite so confident. Let them choose the way that suits them, and they'll be much more successful, and you'll have much more success in the classroom that way too. One of the ways that I kind of got better at my digital tech was getting the kids to teach me. I had some lovely classes who were very keen to show me, this is what you do with OneNote, this is what you do with this is what this teacher does. And then I just went, yeah, okay, then let's do it together. And we kind of learned and built that kind of conversation together as we progressed with my upskilling and then and their skills too, to the point that I think we've got that culture embedded that everyone feels comfortable with what they're doing within the classroom, but also we're not afraid to have those conversations. Well, I don't know how to do that. Can somebody please show me? And the digital dynamos, the pupil leadership team that Connor was talking about, and possibly one of my colleagues had shared previously, is such a great idea because they're the leaders for the future. We're future-proofing them so they can come and let us know what skills they've got and what they can share. I get them to upskill with parents now as well. So on our parents' evenings, they have a table that parents can go over and say, well, can you show me how to navigate the iPad? Where do we find homeworks? That kind of thing, so on and so forth. And that not only helps them to feel, I think, empowered in their knowledge as well, but it allows parents as well to kind of, have that connection with the school, have the connection with the pupils, and place a bit of trust in the tech as well. Sometimes get a little bit of resistance from parents because they don't know how to use it. So it's given them the confidence that actually this is what we want to do with our pupils, because it's going to actually help them attain, and it's going to future-proof their skills as they go through and beyond school. And that's me. Well, I had one more slide. Sorry, I did have one more slide. One more thing. I was just going to say a couple of these top tips from myself. The Microsoft education person is called Mike Tholson. You can find him on X or Twitter. Fabulous hints and tips, things that you can literally just kind of lift off the page and kind of, take to practice. My ones for Microsoft would be Immersive Reader, audio feedback, which we've mentioned a few times today, the dictation function, the translation function. We're a school now that has something like 25 different languages. We're a very, very diverse school, and that's been an absolute godsend for us. And the use of private channels to bespoke work and feedback for pupils. And then for staff, walk, don't run with it. Start with a promise to yourself. For example, use private channels with a class for a term. Share good practice with each other. Give the kids the freedom to find out what works for them, and then future-proof all of your skills.
That's phenomenal, Maxine. Can I just ask, what's the support that you have in the school, for training the teachers? I mean, it's phenomenal, and you sort of said it doesn't look easy. You have really sort of taken, I think, the technology to that sort of being able to use it in a very individual way for individual learners. So how challenging is that in terms of the infrastructure that you have in place in terms of resources?
So you're right. Like I said, I'll go back to the 10-year journey part of that it took us a long time to put in place. Our head teacher had a bit of a vision. She's a computing teacher, which probably helped. She was already kind of involved. So when she took over at our school, she wanted to implement the iPads, and she used a huge chunk of our school budget to implement them, and we did it a year group at a time. So we started with our S6s, and then we rolled them out a year group after that till eventually the whole school had them. So it took a little bit of time, and then that also gave teachers the time to kind of embed their skills. And what I will say is that all of the training that we've done has been all in-house. We haven't employed anyone coming in from anywhere else. What we found is that we have a wealth of talent within our school, and we tapped into the people with the talent and asked them to lead on it. Sometimes that was subjects that kind of lended itself to it, like computing technologies and so on, which was great. They were the go-to guys in the beginning. But then since then, one of our most skilled Apple practitioners, for example, is a classics teacher, an RMPS teacher, and he's somebody that just ran with the technology, just found it, enjoyed it, and continuously upskilled himself. I came in about 3 years into the journey, so I've been using sort of one-to-ones for 7 years now. And I will say, as a historian and chalk and slate, that was me. But I decided that I would just make that commitment to myself to actually not just do it for myself, but do it for the pupils. And the one thing that really expedited it for us was COVID, that we had no choice. We were in lockdown, and then it kind of forced anyone who wasn't quite so skilled to upskill themselves pretty quickly. And I remember that Christmas just before lockdown that we had just discovered Teams, and we were like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And I had somebody in my department at that time who had literally just decided that they were going to upskill themselves. So we had then had that cascaded to us. We felt relatively okay going into the first lockdown. And then when we came, but it was a bit all over the place. So when we came back as sort of digital leads, we went, right, what do we actually want in case this happens again? Haha. In case this happens again, what are we going to do? And thought, right, do you know what? We're going to have a standardized policy. We call it the Royal Hybrid Way, a standard policy that says, here is a minimum expectation. This is what you're going to do. You're going to use Teams and OneNote. It's going to be in every classroom. Every faculty is going to be a member of each other's, Teams classrooms. In case somebody's off, in case the faculty leader needs to see what's going on, so that you've all got that buy-in. There's no secrets. There's just share all that, and create that culture of sharing, I think, is really important. And support for each other. Nobody working in silos any longer. I know that people hopefully don't do that any longer, but gone are the days of closed classroom doors and my materials are mine. It's very much a kind of and we've had, it depending on the faculty, creative ways of doing it, like a teacher's in charge of a particular year group, and the admin that goes with that, or it might be a topic or something, that kind of way. We kind of leave that autonomous to them, but that minimum standard of Teams and OneNote for our school is the expectation. And because we did that in the August of 2020 and really invested in supporting teachers who weren't confident with it, and said, come along, we've got a whole program. Every Thursday there's a lunchtime Teams meeting that will show you how to use Immersive Reader, use Translate app, whatever that might be. Please do come along and upskill yourselves. And that had a huge buy-in. So when we went to the next lockdown for January 2021, we went to live lessons. So we were able to host live lessons. And I will say that from the lessons I was teaching, I had 100% attendance, which is phenomenal, like actually phenomenal. And all my kids were there. I mean, there were still the blank screens and, speaking into the void a little bit. Nobody wanted to, speak out and so on. However, they were all there. They were doing the work. They were submitting it. We got confident with some of our senior classes. We were able to put them in breakout rooms. They were doing presentations, coming back on the screen, doing them. I was blown away with what they picked up really, really, really quickly. And those are skills that those kids are now probably halfway through university and, maybe even finished now. Those are skills that have hopefully, they've taken with them, wherever they've gone on to. And it's given teachers the confidence. So when we came back in August 2021 to whatever the normal looked like at that point, everyone was using it. And also for that public health thing, it meant that teachers could do things digitally. They didn't have to go out of their zones. If they were off to look after family for whatever reason, the exclusion zones that we're in, they could sit and, if they were well enough, still communicate with their classes and so on. So it just meant that all of those things in terms of workloads, placing cover for teachers, so on and so forth, it massively helped. We helped each other out really, really considerably. And it was all because we invested in the time to say, here's how you use it. If you're not sure, come and ask us. Practice, 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 practice. And don't be afraid to stick your hand up and go, do you know what? I actually just don't know what to do here. There's people here that can support you. As well as the pupil leads, I've got 2 digital leads in the school. So I'm kind of like the big digital leads, but I've got 2, one who is the Apple lead, the classics RNPS teacher, and I've got one who is O365 speciality. So those guys have got some protected time within their teaching week. So we give them a couple of hours a week so that teachers, students, whomever can go and see them and get the help that they need. If there's anything in particular they want to kind of, skill themselves on or get a wee tutorial on, especially new members of staff who may be coming to somewhere else where they've not used it before. That's not their fault, but we want them to feel welcome and feel supported so that they're not kind of trying to explore this all by themselves.